Welcome back, everybody, to the Know Ball Dynasty podcast. Back again. It's been a slight break, partly because of March Madness, partly because the NBA season was coming to an end. So, what do you talk about? It can be difficult, but the season ends today. As we're recording this, everybody's playing the last games. And by everybody, I mean 80% of the league is not playing. It's mostly backups. And we're not even going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the next year's draft because we're getting into draft season. I mean, people have already been in draft season, especially during March Madness, but we're going to talk about it and do a little bit of a mock draft specifically for Dynasty basketball, 9 category rankings that we do in our league. So how we kind of conceptualize this is that the three of us are going to represent different teams. So Bentley is going to represent a full rebuild team. We're just going to act like he's fully rebuilding, and he's going to draft it as if he's fully rebuilding. I will be a retooling team. So how I define that is a team that is trying to win 1 year from now. So it's, probably not this year, but within the next 2 years, basically. And then Sam is a contending team. She's trying to win right away, which I think fits Sam perfectly because that's how she plays in our league too, at all times. So yeah, that's kind of the concept. But before we get into it, I'll ask how my co-hosts are doing. Sam, it's nice to have you back. How are you doing?
It's good to be back. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. We know you love drafts. You've told us many times how much you love drafts, and I remember you specifically saying that there were very few Frenchmen in this draft, and that was a pro for you. So that was how we had to convince her to be here. Bentley, nice to see you. Last time we talked, it was right after a rough March Madness, but how has therapy got expensive recently, I guess is my question, or are you doing okay?
I'm always good. I don't go to therapy because I take a lot of solace in the fact that I get to tell people when they make fun of Duke losses that we'll write it down and keep it on our clipboard for next year when we make it back to the Elite Eight or the Final Four or however far we go. Because as a Duke fan, I am privileged enough to realize that that's a reality, and not many people also get to experience that. Besides, Duke beat Michigan like at the very end of the season, so I felt pretty good about hanging that over the heads of all the Michigan fans out there. The Michigan fan that I know very well was not happy when I reminded him of that. But that Michigan team was really that good. Just fucking go undefeated, dude. Just go undefeated. It's not that hard.
Yeah, and by the transitive property, Duke won the championship. So, because they beat Michigan.
Exactly.
I think, didn't someone break it down where it was someone beat, who was it? It was like Long Beach State or something like that, beat a team that beat another team that beat Michigan. And they were like, by the transitive property, they're the national champions. I forgot who that was, but it was funny. That is kind of like the thought process where you're like, well, at least we lost to the champs, but then you go like 8 layers deep. We lost to the guy who beat the champ 3 months ago. Yeah. Well, glad to have you here. It's always a pleasure. We'll probably talk about at least one Duke player, as we did on our last pod, but we're going to go slightly deeper here. So we're going to do a little bit of a lottery here. We don't know what order we're going to take the picks in, but I'm going to simulate the lottery off screen. No one can see it. And lucky me, I got the first pick. And Sam got pick 2, and Bentley got pick 3. So we're going to do that. It'll be 1, 2, 3, and then there you go. Siena, yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Siena.
Also UVA. UVA has the same thing, but with like one
right.
less step.
Right. Siena had a decent team, too.
Great team, some people are saying.
Yeah.
Sneaky athletic, those guys.
Upset alert. Yeah, Bentley third pick, Sam second pick, myself first pick. Lucky me, I get the easy job. Well, I don't know, maybe in this draft it's not easy. But we'll do that, and then I'll get 4, Sam will get 5, Bentley will get 6. We'll just go in that order. We're trying to do 5 rounds. If it gets too long, we'll shorten it a little bit. But okay, so I'm a retooling team. What does that mean? I want to win. Probably not this year, but next year, right? I'm just working around the edges to rebuild my team. If anybody reads my draft boards, they know who I have number 1. I think he makes sense for a retooling team to take. And I'm going to take Duke legend Cameron Boozer with my first pick. We've talked about Cam Boozer a lot on this pod. I'll give the quick and dirty. Looks to be an elite fantasy player, high floor, some upside with his playmaking. Obviously, rebounding is elite. The shooting was pretty good at multiple levels. Probably as a spot-up shooter at the NBA level. Like I said, the playmaking ability is pretty good. I think he'll be a pretty good secondary playmaker. The defensive stats are not fully there, but I don't think they'll be a zero. He'll probably have some concerns with maybe his functional athleticism. But I think his fantasy profile is pretty legit. I don't think he'll be the first pick in the actual draft. I think he'll be third or fourth more than likely. But I like him for 9 category perspectives. And for points leagues, just to be really quick, I think it's a little closer between him and who I have it to. But for me, I think it's a clear number 1 for Cam Boozer, and I will gladly take him here for my retooling team, and we will be winning a championship here very quickly when he takes a year 2 leap. Okay, Sam, you have pick number 2. I do want to highlight, Sam told me before the draft that her board is a little maybe unorthodox, but we're prepared for stuff. So.
I don't think my first pick is crazy. So for my first pick, I'm going to go Darren Peterson. With Darren Peterson, Ryan, we had a conversation a couple weeks back. He's got rebounds and he's got a couple blocks. So you talked about unique stats with certain positions, and he's one of those that he's a guard. And for fantasy or dynasty teams, getting a player that has those unique stats who can get some numbers up in the positions that you're not typically seeing those numbers in is a good deal. So I like him as my number 1 pick. That's kind of like how I see it. So that conversation kind of stuck with me when we were talking about it a while back. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. It's something I bring up a lot is like unique stats from, positions that don't typically get them, right? Like assists from the center position is something that I think is pretty valuable because you don't get a lot of that. So yeah, I think Darren Peterson has quite a wide range of possible outcomes. I do think he'll probably be a solid defensive playmaker.
Yeah.
And I do think he'll be a decent rebounder. He's got good size. It's an injury concern, I think, kind of across the board. But worst case scenario, he'll probably be a great shot maker, and you'll have a pretty high floor with him there. So, and you're the contending team too, just to highlight again.
Yeah. So I think with with a rookie with a contending team, the injuries might not be such a big factor. So I would put him on that roster just to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think he'll probably play right away. I think pretty much every team he goes to, he'll play right away. I think his path to playing time is pretty clear with the top teams in the draft. So that makes sense to me. Bentley, you have any disagreements?
Nope, just unfortunate that she got him instead of me.
Right. Yeah, I think we're a Darren Peterson pod here. I know a lot of people have AJ a little higher. I think we're generally a Darren Peterson pod here. I think we believe in the high school tape, generally speaking. Okay, Bentley, you're the rebuilding team. So the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. Go ahead with the third pick.
I'm going to reach for the stars here, and I'm going to grab AJ DeBonsta. He's a guy, there's a lot of variance in beliefs coming into the draft about this guy. Some people see him as, 2 inches smaller Kevin Durant. Some people see him as like a Tyreek Evans if he were thinner. I mean, there's a wide variance of outcomes that could be this guy's future. When you are a rebuilding franchise, you want to take swings on high upside guys, right? This is a very high ceiling player coming into the NBA. He obviously can score at all 3 levels in the court. I have to hope that the playmaking will come along when he's playing alongside better players than he was in college. That's the belief you have to sell yourself as a GM if you're making this pick. So as a future owner of this player, I have to hope that just happens for him in the NBA, and he's not like a 28-point-a-night guy and 4 rebounds and 1 assist, right? Like that. If that happens, you probably don't feel great about this pick. But you take the high upside guy if you're rebuilding because you're not planning on winning anytime soon. So it doesn't really matter what he looks like in his first couple years. You kind of play the long game and hope that he pops on that second contract, really. So I'm going to go with AJ and just pray for the best possible outcome here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think his fantasy profile and potentially his NBA profile is going to come down to, while he scales down his offensive load, do the ancillary things scale up or do they stay the same? If they stay the same, you have problems. If they scale up, like you said, the playmaking, the stocks, right, from a fantasy perspective, like he You hope that with his size and athleticism, you hope that stuff gets better while he doesn't have to carry the entire BYU offense on his back. But he has a wide range, right? If the defense doesn't get there, the floor could be relatively low. But I think worst case scenario, he's a 20-point per game scorer in the NBA, which is, don't feel terrible about that worst case scenario. Sam, do you have disagreements? You an AJ fan?
Nope, I think it's a good choice.
Yep. I think most people, that's their top three. I think a lot of people have this in a tier. I have seen Boozer in tiers by himself, and then the next two or three together. So I think we're pretty chalk so far. Okay, I have the fourth pick, and I'm going to take the last guy that I have in tier one on my own board. I have a 4-person tier one, and I'm going to take Caleb Wilson out of, I believe he went to North Carolina. We don't have to talk about it.
There's no evidence of that.
He initially had him in a tier just below these three, but I actually moved him up as I watched him more. Went back and watched tape, as they say. I think the defensive playmaking is going to be his calling card, and his finishing around the rim is going to be kind of what he relies on. But there's flashes of some playmaking there that I think will be valuable at some point. I don't ever think he's going to be like a big time. He's not a Boozer playmaker, but I think he'll be able to be a connected passer that will lead to some assists. Like I said, he's a play finisher, but I do think there's some shooting potential there. Say that about a lot of prospects, but I do think that's what will move him into the elite tier is the shooting that, and combined with his already a pretty good finishing, rebounding, defensive playmaking. So I'm buying that some of those ancillary skills will be enough to move him into this tier. Some people are not, which I think is fair, but I think ceiling wise, he's a pretty high ceiling player, and even as a retooling team, I think that there is a slight value drop from 4 to 5. So I will take the BPA here, even if it maybe isn't a second year guy that's going to help me right away. So yeah, anybody got issues with Caleb Wilson?
I think Caleb Wilson is going to be better than AJ DeBonsa in the actual NBA.
Sure, yeah. And we've talked about that a little bit on the previous pod, that both of us have them pretty close to each other, and there's an argument that Wilson has a much clearer path to like NBA success with his skill set and mindset, and there's an argument Caleb's ceiling is higher just with the like what skills he currently has. AJ is probably a little further along, but I think I'm not mad at anyone that has that opinion because I have them actually pretty close to each other. On fantasy side, I have them about 15 spots away from each other. Like if you rank every player in the league, if I rank them about 15 spots away from each other as prospects, which is not super far when you're ranking everybody in the entire league, so they're pretty close. Sam, you got opinions on Caleb Wilson?
Nope. All good choices. You're always right, Ryan.
Let's not say that. That's gonna lead to some mistakes.
My only fear with having that opinion about Caleb Wilson being better than DeBonsa is that the further we get away from the two of them actually being seen on a basketball court playing basketball, the stronger I feel about that opinion.
Sure, yeah.
I'm glad I had that opinion early when they were both playing, like in the regular season, and I could see both of them playing. So I developed it early, so I felt pretty good about it. But the longer it goes and the less they're in the forefront of my mind, the stronger I feel that way, which is like very much off-season brain rot type of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that does give me a little bit of pause. But I don't know. Obviously I picked DeBonsa, right? High ceiling guy. But I just think that Caleb Wilson does so many more things on the basketball court at a higher level than DeBonsa does. That
mm-hmm.
I think he can make up for whatever deficiencies he has on the offensive end of the court compared to DeBonsa. I think he can make up for that just fine on the other side of the court, playing defense.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think March Madness comes around and a lot of us anchor really heavily to what happens in March Madness. Caleb did not play in March Madness, so you're actually anchoring the opposite way, which is kind of funny because most people are like, did you see AJ in his one game, right? Like he ran the show, but so people move him up because they saw him against that Texas team and he was BYU's entire offense. And then Caleb hasn't played in 4 weeks, so very easy to anchor that direction. So it's interesting that you're having the opposite opinion. But yeah, it is off season where you're like, are these guys that different? as obviously they're very different players, but from a ranking standpoint, are they that different? So I've done that about 15 times, and it's been what, a week? So I figure 200-300 more times by the time the draft comes around before I feel comfortable with my decisions.
It's the most like NFL draft way to think possible.
Yeah. Which is like those guys are sometimes rail thin, like away from each other. There's so many of them, like, and there's so many more positions, and like, how do you quantify that? That gets way more complex. Basketball is like there's like 15 different styles of play. It's not like that complex in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, agreed. Okay, Sam. Here's where we get fun. I think we're out of the top tier. For me personally, I do think these guys are good. You are contending. You're trying to win right away. You're at pick 5. Where are you going?
Yep. Okay. I'm in between two, but I'm gonna take Mikal Brown Jr. for 2.
What I know you're a Mikal fan.
Yeah.
What do you like about him?
I like Mikal because he's a shooter. He puts up high numbers, but he also covers a lot of different categories for me. He's got a good passing game. He's got a couple steals. He has a really high turnover rate, but I mean, you're gonna get that, and that's all right. He's also another one with the injuries, but a contending team, you can take that chance. So I think, depending on wherever he goes or anything like that, if he gets some playing time, he might be able to do some good things out there if he gets some minutes. I like him. I thought he did really well. He was a key factor for Louisville. Yeah, I feel good about him at 2 for me.
Bentley, you have I know you're not as big of a Mikal Brown guy. You like Mikal Brown, but maybe not as much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like dislike Mikal Brown. I'm just not as high on him as other people. It makes sense to me why you take him in this position. If you think that his shooting woes late in the year are more of a result of injury rather than his like actual lack of ability to shoot the ball. If you're counting on him to come in and be a contributor on a contending team right away, what you're looking for, I'm assuming from him, is like secondary playmaking and catch and shoot ability. Just not. I don't know. I'm not a Brown guy. He's not. He's not for me. Personally. No problem with Sam taking him. I understand like the vision. I see the potential there in the game, but it's not. He's just not my cup of tea.
And you're not far off. You're not far off this guy. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, good point. He's not far off for you here. Like he's within a couple of choices. If you were to, you're bored in a vacuum. Right? I really like Mikal. I think I'm probably the highest of everybody. I'm glad you took him here. Maybe Sam's the highest of everybody, actually. She might be higher than I am on him. The guy has a rational confidence, and I like that about him. And I imagine Sam also likes that. She likes that type of player. If that irrational confidence is backed up by efficiency and consistency, then obviously you feel great about this. I think he is a future lead guard. I think he'll be a good playmaker. I think the shooting is real. I think the athleticism is there. He's got good size, right? He grew a little bit, which really helped him out. He's about 6'5" now. Good size if he can play, especially if he can play the 1. Yeah, I like Mikal Brown a lot. He was great in the under-19s. In my opinion, he was the best player on that USA team in the under-19s before the college season began, and AJ was on that team. AJ got the MVP. I don't think he deserved the MVP. I thought Mikal was the best player there, and he played against other college, freshmen, sophomores that were 19 and under at that time. So I think he's got it. It just the back injury is a concern, but I really like him. I love the pick. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Love the pick. All right, Bentley. You're up next at number 6.
Yeah, so this one's pretty tough for me. There are 3 guys that I was kind of waffling between, and I cut it down to 2, and the 2 are really, really close. This is going to be, like I mentioned with the DeBonsta pick, this is going to be a ceiling pick for me. I'm going with Wagler over Flemings. Wagler, I understand the pedigree with Flemings is a little higher than the pedigree with Wagler. However, Wagler made so many strides in his development in 1 year in college. You have to imagine that the ability to continue to increase his skill level carries over to the NBA, right? Whereas Fleming's kind of tapered off towards the end of the season. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player or any of that. Like, I would imagine that he goes within the next 2 picks here to one of y'all. But Wagler brings a unique size and playmaking ability, as well as on-ball creation, like scoring on-ball creation. Right, he can shoot off the dribble. He can get downhill. He makes his free throws. He actually averaged the same number of blocks a game. Where was it? I had it right here. Yeah, same number of blocks per game, and almost one steal less, but that's okay. I can live with that. I'm more of a Wagler fan than I am of Fleming's, and that is, different than the previous rankings that we gave out on the show. But like you mentioned, Ryan, you flip flop a bunch of times in the last 10 days, and so have I. So I'm gonna go with Wagler. I know it's a little prisoner of the moment from what we just saw within March Madness, but I like the development. I'm not trying to win right now or even next year. I'm aiming for the stars with this kid. I think his potential is sky high, and it really was just a personal preference between him and Fleming's.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking Wagler here. He's in my second tier, so I feel good about him here. I do agree. The blocks is an interesting point. He's a pretty good shot blocker for his position. His block percentage is relatively high. I believe I think his just strict blocks, I think he's in like the 72nd percentile or something in blocks, was pretty good for his position, obviously. From a fantasy perspective, you'd love to continue to see that because that, it's one of those weird stats, the shot blocking guards. The good thing about him, I think he can play both guard spots. He can be the primary ball handler. He can be a secondary ball handler. He can play like a wing type position with his size. I think he has a lot of malleability, obviously the shot making. And I agree, Bentley, you make a really good point, and I think it may be the most interesting aspect of him is that he's such a quick riser, right? He obviously was state player of the year. It wasn't like he was a random guy. But he had 2 Division I offers, right? Went to Illinois, which was by far the best one. He pretty much immediately is their best player on a really good team, right? A top 12 team in the country. Is that indicative of like just a late bloomer that once he bulks up and continues to get in the gym, as they say, is his ceiling significantly higher than we think it is, right? I don't know if the agility will ever be there, but definitely like I could see him as a very shifty, strong guard with some wiggle that kind of just gets where he wants with lateral agility. And shot making ability. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think that point is something that's forgotten kind of in his profiles. Like the pick. Sam, are you a Wagler fan?
Wagler? No, I'm not. But I like Bentley's perspective on it. I think it's a hot take, but when you break it down, it kind of makes sense. I mean, he has time. He's rebuilding. I like his point of view on it. It makes sense.
All right, we'll take that. Anytime she agrees with Bentley, we're doing okay. That's a rarity in this.
She's finally seeing the light. I'm so proud of her.
Okay, I'm next, right? Pick 7. Yep. I'm going to take the last guy in my tier 2. There were 3 people in my tier 2. I have this guy at 5 on my board. We probably all know who this is. I'm taking Kingston Flemings out of the University of Houston. He is an elite two-way guy. I think he is going to get steals. He's going to get blocks. I think he's just going to be generally a good defender. I think his agility will allow him to get to the rim. There's some finishing concerns that kind of happened at the end of the year, and I think those are fixable. I think it was mostly maybe a loose handle and some strength issues I'm not super worried about, but there are some concerns there. Obviously, you want the shooting to be able to scale up to a high enough level. He didn't shoot a ton of threes, but was efficient when he did shoot them. So you're looking for better spacing to really, shoot him up the boards. And obviously the playmaking as well. He was a good playmaker, good creator, but you'd love to see that get to the great side of things. I think he has a really good fantasy profile. I think he'll be also just a good NBA player. I think his floor is pretty high because of the defensive capability. So I really like his future. Be interesting to see where he goes and kind of how they want to play him. Is he going to be the primary on-ball guy, or is he going to be more of a jack of all trades kind of guy? Should be interesting to see. I think that will affect where I would draft him. But right now he's 5 on my board, and I feel pretty good about it. So yeah, I think that's the obvious pick. I think there's a few people that would take maybe one other guy here, but I think most people have Flemings at least in this range. So any disagreements?
Can you say that whole thing again?
Yep. Good? Okay.
No, Fleming's good pick. Good pick.
Thank you, thank you. All right, Sam. We're out of my tier 2 now. So far we've been chalk. We've done my tier 1 and all of my tier 2 as the top 7. So clearly I'm wrong somewhere based off that. So at pick 8, you're the contending team. Who are you taking?
Okay, I'm gonna take him at 3, even though I know you guys aren't gonna pick him. But let's just pretend there's a lot of people picking in this draft. So I'm gonna take at 3, Yaxel Lindenborg at number 3. I'm gonna do it. So I'm a contending team, and Yaxel is older. But I mean, he was a key player for Michigan, and he's great all around. His efficiency is awesome. He's got blocks. He's got points. I mean, he covers like a whole bunch of categories. I think he'll get playing time wherever he goes. As a contending team, I mean, age is but a number. I think like he would be a great for a team that I would be working with. So yeah, I feel good about him at 3 for me. I think he would do stuff right off the bat in a good way.
Bentley, you got opinions on the elder statesman of college basketball?
No, I have no problem with Sam. Well, I have many opinions about Yaxel, but those are not to be spoken. I have no problem with Sam taking him here because her team is looking for contributors out of the draft. And if you are trying to win a championship, looking for actual championship contributors in the draft is tough to do. Like finding them in the draft is tough to do unless you're getting, like actual rookie of the year candidates, which she may have in Darren Peterson, right? He very well could win rookie of the year. So if you're able to get like a true blue contributor on a fantasy roster with your 3rd overall pick, then you feel pretty good about that. In this case, she got him at 8. Still pretty good. You feel confident if you're getting an actual contributor on a championship roster within the first round of the draft. I have no issue with it.
Yeah, I think that's the calculation here, right? If it's a team that wants to win right away, has a spot for a player like Yaxel, has a team built where Yaxel makes sense, I think he's an obvious pick for a contending team to make. I don't think it's a reach for this. I have him slightly lower overall because I have to calculate everything here, right? And that's kind of why we did this mock, was to think about what are different teams that are in different stages of their team builds thinking about while they're drafting. And I really appreciate Sam making this pick here because I think this could legitimately happen. He was maybe the best player in college basketball this year. He is really old. So yeah, I think he does a little bit of everything. I think his malleability is really interesting, right? Pretty much any team that drafts him, he can find something to do, right? The shooting really showed this year. That was probably one of the big concerns I had when he was leaving UAB was, can he shoot, or is he just a body, a power forward that has to go to the rim? And clearly he showed the shooting looks to be legit. So yeah, I think pretty much any build you have, he can find a way to fit in there as long as you can play him. I think he makes sense. I think you're probably the only team, Sam, that would take him here because of this, the contending status. And I think that's, like I said, why we did that. So appreciate that. I personally have him at 15. That's my total rankings. I have him at 15. But I don't think this is that crazy of a reach. All right, Bentley, it's to you now at number 9.
Yep.
Full rebuild.
I once again was waffling here a bit between two guys, two very, very, very different basketball players. One would fit perfectly into my current fantasy team in the league that we're all in together, and one I'm hoping to avoid drafting onto my fantasy team in our league. But for the sake of this mock draft, I am going to take the guy who I'm hoping to avoid in our league, and I'm going to take Darius Acuff because he fits the mold of the guys that have already picked in this draft, right? Potentially super high ceiling, also potentially low floor, right? He could be Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
He could be Johnny Flynn, who, by the way, great immaculate grid answer. Johnny Flynn made an all-rookie team the year he was drafted, so if you're looking for an answer there. But I don't imagine that his floor is as low as Johnny Flynn's. He's also not going to be Tyler Ulis. He's better than Tyler Ulis ever was at basketball. I also don't think his ceiling is going to be as high as people are making it out to be, right? I like Darius Acuff. I think his destiny in the NBA is to be like an off the bench heat check guy, but that's my opinion. I'm contradicting my own rankings that I gave out on this podcast, but that's just what we do, right? I think in that show, I talked about drafting the guard who played for Cal in college. That's a good philosophy. It's a legitimate strategy. But my issue with it is that it's become so mainstream that now I personally have swung back the other way, right? I was an early adopter of Acuff as an awesome college player, but now everybody has seen him since they went off in the SEC tournament, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I need him to run my franchise." And I'm like, "Hold on, pump the brakes." Like, he was awesome in college, but we don't. I don't know that the ability to get downhill, is he going to be big enough to get into the lane like he did in college? I don't know. His shooting is, it's a little better than streaky, but it's not like a surefire thing. You know, he takes a lot of threes off the jump, or off the dribble rather. Is he going to be able to play off the ball and hit catch and shoots when like his bigs kick it out to him? I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know about his game translating to the NBA. That being said, he has a super high ceiling because he's incredibly talented. He's very cerebral when he's on the court. He makes a lot of the right plays. Basically, every single time he has a decision point in the game. So the ability for him to be like a superstar in the NBA is there. And as a fantasy owner who just drafted him, that is what I'm counting on.
Yeah, I think of the three of us, he makes the most sense for you to take as a full rebuild. Take the swing, especially if you're like in our league. We have a 10-team league. Like this would be late first, right? If there was a rebuilding team that traded for a late first, right? This would make sense to take the swing here. It's I think it's pretty good value. I have him at 8 on my board, my updated board. At one point, I had him at I believe 11 or 12. I've moved him up to 8. And the reason why I moved him up is because I watched a lot of his off ball possessions, and I actually think he looked pretty good off the ball, where I thought he might be able to do that at the next level. He still is one of the worst defenders I've ever seen, and that is a huge concern. That hasn't changed. If that would go away, he would have moved up much higher, right? Like I moved him to 8. It's not like an insane move up. But yeah, the ceiling, just the offensive ceiling alone, the offensive metrics are pretty insane for a freshman his age and his size. The defensive limitations, I'm not sure will ever go away. I am scared that I've said this before, that he's just Trey Burke. We have to live with that. But I think the swing is fine for a rebuilding team. I do not feel comfortable with him at 5, 6, 7. Like, I don't think that makes a lot of sense to me. I am okay with him in this next group of guys. And especially for, like I said, for a rebuilding team. So, cool with that. Sam, Acuff's a shot maker, your favorite type of player. How do you feel about him?
No, that's good. You know me, loves shooters.
That's true.
Shooters all day.
And he does shoot the ball. That guy loves to shoot the ball.
Just make sure it goes in.
Yeah, that's irrelevant to some people. Some people we know personally. All right. Yeah, I like the Acuff pick there. I think it makes a lot of sense. All right, back to me, right? We're at number 10. Okay, rounding out the top 10. I'm going to take one of my favorite guys of the draft cycle. I'm going to take. I like to see if Bentley is predicting who I'm taking based off my lead-in. If he starts typing it before I say who it is. He's a young sophomore. Really broke out as the primary guy in his second year at Alabama. I'm taking LeBaron Philon. Good size. 6'4", lead guard. He's a little slender. Probably needs to bulk up a little bit, but he's crafty. He can get to the rim with his shiftiness. He's got a beautiful step back. He's got great footwork. He can hit the pull up three. Obviously, the playmaking is solid to be a lead guard. I feel pretty good about his offensive profile, and I think his length will make him a solid defender. I don't think he's ever going to be a high level guy, but I do see decent to below average defensive outcomes, right? So it's not amazing, and that's what lowers him. If he was a better defender, he'd be significantly higher because I think the offensive game is that good. What is his role going to be? That's I think the tough one here. If he gets drafted to a team where he's not the primary guy, I think he can be an off-ball playmaker and shooter, but I think it will depress his value a little bit, at least initially. But yeah, I like him a lot. I've had him in my top 10 since my first board. I have him at number 9 right now. So happy to get him here at number 10 with some slight value. Henley, you got opinions on LeBaron?
I like LeBaron Philon a lot, actually. He was on, I believe he was an honorable mention on my list, or he fell in at number 10 on my list. Last time we did this, we did our top 10 at least. Yeah, I like Philon. You mentioned his defensive stuff, like his length being able to help him. I think that he's in a spot where he is not going to be played off the court for being a defensive liability, which is a big deal for young guys trying to get playing time in the NBA. If you can stay on the court and prove that you can stay in front of guys, or at least play in the passing lanes, coaches will trust you a lot more in the NBA, and it gets you playing time, which is going to be needed to develop at the next level. The reason I didn't bring up the defensive stuff with Acuff was because I don't think coaches are going to expect him to even do anything on defense. So I don't think it's like a huge talking point with him. That's not what he's being drafted for. Philon, I think, is a guy that he's played in a number of big games in college, proven himself well. I think that coaches are going to look for reasons to trust him on the court late in games, especially in like the second half of seasons, depending on where he falls in the actual NBA draft. But no, I like Philon. I think he does enough on the offense. He obviously scores at a high level. He's a decent playmaker. I think he can do enough outside of those two key things to be a contributor on a team in the NBA basically right away, and then not get played off defensively, which, as I said, is important.
One more thing I do want to add, great free throw rate for his position, gets fouled and does well at the free throw line. Obviously for categories that matters quite a bit. Sam, LeBaron Philon is a flamethrower, so we know you love him, but do you have anything else to add?
Nope, that's a good choice.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Your approval is all I care about. All right, number 11, which is Sam, contending again. She just took Yaxel Lindeborg. She's rounding out. She took I think she took BPA to start, and now we're starting to see her going for a more strategy-based decision making here. So let's see if she continues that. Let's go to the board.
Okay, so at number 4, I'm gonna take Braden Bird. This is my number 4. So I think he plays both sides of the court well. He's ancient. He's 20 years old. But again, I'm contending. So age is but a number to me. So yeah, I think he'll get a lot of playing time too, depending on where he goes. I think he'll put up good numbers. He's one of those guards that does a lot of rebounds. So I think it's a good spot for a contending team. He'll be influential on a roster if he can get some playing time. He's got good numbers. He gets a lot of points, all of that stuff. So I like him at number 4. I feel good about it.
Yeah, Bentley, how do you feel about Burries?
No strong feelings about Braden Burries. He's not a player I'm super excited about coming into the NBA, but I'm also not like down on him for any particular reason. He went to a team that was pretty stacked with talent, so he didn't really have the opportunity to shine as like the lead guard in the backcourt. To me, he's a guy who could really benefit from another year in college, but I understand the desire to go to the NBA and start that salary clock. But I think it's fine. Yeah, you get Braden Burries, you feel pretty good at 11, A lot of people are super high on him. He's a LA kid, won the City League championship in high school, I believe, and I think a state championship. I'm not confident in that last part, but, historically, pretty good basketball players coming out of the high school programs there in Los Angeles. So the pedigree is there with a guy like him. He's a little older than some of the other kids coming out that are freshmen, decipher that information however you will. But I think it's a good pick for you at 11 there.
Yep. Agreed. I think that's about right for him. I actually have him at 11 on my board. That's pretty much what I think about him. I think he's one of the better two-way guys at the guard/wing spot in the draft. I think he provides statistically decent and will on the NBA across pretty much every category except for blocks. I'm not sure he'll ever be like a big block guy, but he's got good size, can score, can play make a little bit. Just can do a little bit of everything. I think he's really interesting. I do think, obviously, he's older, and that brings him down. If he was 18 doing this, he would clearly be in my next tier up. But because he's 2 years older than some other players in his just in his grade, it brings him down a little bit for me. But Sam contending, I mean, I think he will be able to play right away and provide at least something. I don't think he'll be amazing right away, but I think he will not be unplayable, is what I'll say, which is obviously important in your situation. So cool with Burries. Happy that you took him there. Okay, now we got Bentley at the end of the 4th round here for us.
Yep. So I'm going to go with a guy who we all know, very close personal friend of ours. I'm taking Nate Ament here. Once again, going with the similar archetype of super high ceiling, potentially very low floor. Another highly recruited guy out of high school decided to go to Knoxville, play for Rick Barnes and the Tennessee Volunteers. Probably a mistake on his part, but that's okay. They overachieved in the tournament, which was nice to see. A team where he came in expecting to be like, I don't think they expected him to be the best player, but like they were looking at him to be this development project so that he could shine as the year kind of came to a close for them. And watching a team with a player like him on it overachieve in the tournament, I think was a good sign. He didn't play particularly well, but I'm not focused on that here because I'm basing him off of potential. He's tall, he's long, he has ability to shoot the ball. Those are things that you can't, like, let me rephrase. He's tall, he's long, and has like a God-given innate ability to shoot the ball. Those are things you cannot teach. You can teach someone to shoot, but if you're just naturally good at it, then God bless you with the talent more than others. The ceiling for him is incredibly high coming into the NBA because of the tools that he comes in already armed with, right? What he chooses to do with them, how he develops his game, that will stand to prove wherever he can flourish to in the NBA. I'm going to bet on the potential. I'm going to bet on him to be a scoring machine. And eventually, once he kind of grows into his body, right, fills out a little bit more, he'll be good enough on the defensive end. He's going to grab rebounds. He's going to do all the ancillary things outside of score the ball. But I'm counting on him being a 25-point-a-game guy for 10-plus years in the league.
Whew. 25. That's a lot.
I have to convince myself of this. I'm drafting him off potential, Ryan.
Off potential, I think this is completely what I would do, too. This would be the same pick I would make here. I think maybe the second highest potential in the draft, in my opinion, which is, I know, kind of crazy to say this far down. Maybe just, 6'10", shooting abilities there. We've seen it in high school, like you talked about. There's obviously a lot of downside risk that the body doesn't get there. The shooting is not actually as good as we think it is. He doesn't develop any other skills. He becomes like Michael Porter Jr. light and only gives you like 18 and like 5, which is fine. Like, I think that's still like a good player, obviously, but that's probably his medium outcome. So, but the downside is Keegan Murray, like that, like somewhere in that ballpark, probably like more athletic Keegan Murray, slightly bigger, more athletic. But yeah, I think he's tough. I think he showed some toughness, especially in the tournament. He played hurt, didn't sit out, and so I think that projects well for his mentality. And yeah, I would have made the pick here. I made the exact same pick if I was a rebuilding team, and Ament was on the board at 12. Sam, you got opinions? I know you know Nate personally as well, so.
No, I think that's a good choice. Hopefully Bentley's right. 25 a night. That looks great. But he's thriving off the potential, so he's right. He really can't. He's just got to go with his guy. I think that's a good choice.
For the record, I'm not saying he's going to be 25 a night as a rookie.
Yeah, of course.
I think he will develop to be a 25-point-a-night guy.
I got you.
Yeah, when Nate watches our podcast, because I know he does.
Of course. Drew sends it to him.
But yeah, he's going to wonder how we know him. He's going to find it very weird that we're making this joke. We just love our Virginia kids, you know? We just love our Virginia guys. That's what it is. All right, yeah. Nate Ament, really happy with that pick there. Feel really good about it. All right, on to our last round. This is our last round. We're going to do a second part. We'll try to do at some point, probably 30 total players. But for right now, we're just doing 15 because it would be 2 or 3 hours to go to 30. And we can only prep so much. But yeah, for my last pick as a retooling team, I'm going to take my last player that I have in Tier 3. Every player I have in Tier 3 is gone, except for this player. Sam's going to be mad, but I have to do it. I'm going to take the pride of Germany, Hannes Steinbach.
I can't believe you.
The joke is, people don't know this, but Sam has every German player in the league is on Sam's dynasty team. Literally every single one. There's not a German in the league that is not on her team. Tristan da Silva, Dennis Schroeder, the Wagner brothers, they're all on there. So I'm trying to break up the coalition there and take Hannes here.
I did it all by accident, too. It was all by accident.
Yeah, she did not realize she was doing that, but I let her know. And that's where the bit about her hating the French comes from, because she's collecting German people. So it's a little bit of an inside joke. Yeah, Hannes has an elite skill. He rebounds the ball maybe better than anybody in this class. Rebound percentage is great. He also can finish well around the basket. We talked about it in the last pod. He's good with both hands. He has good touch around the rim. There are obviously defensive concerns, and if he's going to be a center, you worry about those defensive concerns. He's got good hands for steals and stuff like that for his size. Not a shot blocker. You're hoping he's a net neutral at the NBA level, right? As a defender, that's kind of the projection and hope. But because he has an elite skill, I think from a fantasy perspective, he's very easy to select if it makes sense for your team to get a player at his position that's going to rebound the hell out of the ball and is going to finish around the basket and be relatively efficient. There's some projection that he could shoot the ball at some point. He did shoot some threes at Washington this year, and there is some metrics with his efficiency in other places that look like he could become a three-point shooter, but that's obviously a projection, so we don't know about that. Obviously, if he can do that, then you have, you got like a three-point shooting center who's going to rebound the ball, adds a whole other category for him to be involved in. So that's a much bigger deal. But for right now, just from the rebounding and the finishing around the basket, I have him at 10 on my board. I'm happy to take him here. I think he's going to contribute right away, at least on the rebounding side of the ball. Like, you can trust that he'll rebound the ball no matter how many minutes he gets. So yeah, like him a lot. I like him more as a fantasy player than I do as an NBA player, I guess, is kind of my philosophy there. But Bentley, I know you're a Hannes guy as well. We've talked about him before. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was hoping he would last just a little bit longer here. I thought about taking him earlier, but I couldn't get there. I don't know that his ceiling is as high as some of the guys that I grabbed on this board, but his floor is definitely higher than probably everyone I took, except maybe AJ. It's a great pick. I think he's going to be a really good NBA player. I have no problem with him going where he went. And I think that he will go higher in actual drafts. Like in categories, dynasty drafts, I think he will go higher.
Sure. Sam, I know you're upset about the German thing, but do you have any opinion on him as a player?
Nope, I think that's a good choice. I knew you would eventually choose him, Ryan, before me, so I'm happy for you.
Thank you. That was the last of my my third tier, so we've moved down into the fourth tier for me. So had to take him as best player available. Maybe not best fit for a retooling team, but because of the tier break, I took him there. So all right, Sam, contending team, last pick. I know who I would take here. I'm not going to lead you. I would not lead the witness. Let's see if you and I agree. If not...
That's a lot of pressure. I don't know. I don't think we'll do, because every time I think I'm on the right path, you're like, I wouldn't do that.
I think Ryan and I are probably thinking of the same player here.
Okay, well, I promise, if you and Bentley are on the same page, we're probably not on the same page.
That's probably true.
That's actually not a dig. It's just because I don't think he's thinking the same way I am. That's not a dig, I promise. Okay, just let me know if I'm wrong. Alright, at my last pick for this part, I'm gonna go with Adamar. Am I wrong?
That's who I had.
That's who I was thinking of.
Let's end the episode here.
No need to talk about it.
I know. Look, you guys know I'm a simple gal. You're 7'3". Someone's gonna find something to do with you. Okay? Yeah, but I mean, he's one of those that we talked about. He's a center. He's got a bit of a passing game, so the assists are kind of there for me. But yeah, it's the height. Blocks are there. Boards are there. All that. I think for a contending team, I think he would be a good choice. The height puts him on a roster, then it also probably will get you playing time. So that's kind of like what I was thinking. I think he was great with I think he did well at Michigan. I think he was influential in the tournament and all that. So I think it was a good choice for me. And obviously, everybody else can all agree. Oh my gosh.
All right, Bentley. We said we agree with her choice, but you have anything else you want to add about Mara?
I'm a lot higher on him than I was when the season started, which I guess is a compliment.
Yeah. I mean, coming over from UCLA, he was a big prospect as a freshman, but didn't do much at UCLA. He had a big year at Michigan, obviously, getting a lot more opportunity. And that 3 big lineup they did was really unique, and he anchored it. And I thought he was the best player of the Final Four, and he was incredible in that Final Four game. I know, again, I'm trying not to anchor to his one game there. I thought he was great in the championship game. I think he only had 8 points, but I thought he really controlled the floor and controlled spacing really well. So, yeah, he moved up a little. I stayed about the same for me, but I think he's great.
The game against Arizona, the Final Four game, was probably the best game by any player in the tournament.
Yeah, there's argument for that.
Games.
Yeah.
Just dominated.
Incredible.
Arizona wanted to go at him, and he was like, okay. Like, I'm fine with that. Obviously, he had also 2 other huge guys with him, and Morris Johnson and Yaxel that help out with like the physicality there. But man, he handled it fine. He's got an NBA body already. 2 concerns: terrible free throw shooter currently. Also doesn't play a ton of minutes. So if that can't scale up, his upside is limited, right? Because just total minutes are a problem, right? But I think Sam's right. Good passing at his position. Shot blocking numbers are probably going to continue to be great. He has a great block percentage and great pure blocking numbers. Will be a solid rebounder. Probably never like an elite rebounder, but a solid rebounder. Yeah, I think he's going to play a long time. I think with the way the NBA is trending, I think he's going to play a long time. Is that a backup big? Maybe, but it's probably a rotational big, worst case scenario, depending on where he ends up. So.
Yeah.
And I think if you're looking for blocks, he might be the best guy in the draft for that. So.
Yeah, that's me.
Sam loves blocks. We've heard this many times.
Sure.
All right. I have no idea what Bentley's going to do here. Because there's about 8 people I would take here.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I also am at a little bit of a loss here. There are like 4 guys that I'm looking at on my list right here that I just don't know. If Steinbach had not gone, I would have taken him here. I have it down to 2. Jesus. Alright, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take Kristanak Jr. I'm making this pick in the same vein that I made on my other picks. Potential, right? Ryan, you know all about this guy. Super high recruit coming out of high school. Came into a Houston system where they were not asking him to be the best player on the floor. Personally, I'm not really sure why he went to Houston. I understand why players go to Houston. It's an awesome program. They win a ton of games. If you're going to be a one-and-done type of player, I'm not sure that Houston is the school to do that at. Just my opinion. He probably could have gone elsewhere and had better statistical outputs. But he chose to go to Houston, which shows that he is willing to be coached hard. He's willing to work hard. We didn't really see that pan out on the court. He had a bit of an underwhelming freshman season. He was not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, but he came in, and as you can see on this board, Kingston Fleming, his freshman teammate, has gone higher than him already, right? I don't think that if you had asked anybody coming into last year's college basketball season, would that be the case? They would have said yes. I think everybody would have gone with a 6'11" guy. I'm drafting, like I said, based off potential here. I'm going to go with the kid who made the choice to go be coached hard, work hard in practice, play a gritty style of defense on the court, and really just pray that his offensive game comes around and that he's able to flourish when there are, players around him that are better than... I even hate to say this because Houston was so good this year, but, there are players around him that are better than there were in college. I don't, the other guy I was going to pick is he's not 6'11", so I don't have, a real strong conviction with this pick, despite super high potential, right? Very high ceiling with this kid. Could come into the NBA and turn into something really special at the power forward position. also could be out of the league in like 4 years. I don't know. But I'm banking on the potential here, the pedigree coming out of high school, the fact that he chose to go to a place where he knew he was going to have to work hard in college. I think those are all good signs for him coming into the NBA.
Yeah, I do not have Sinak on my board at all, and that is not because I would not put him on my board. I would put him on my board, but I think he should go back to school. That was so I didn't put him on my board currently. He would be on there if he stays in. He'll end up being on there, and I do agree he's one of the better lottery tickets in the draft as a deeper pick. Yeah, really like him. Great rebounder already. Even he's a little slender, but already he tracks the ball well. He gets to it well. He's shown some shooting ability, flashes of shooting ability, some defensive hustle and ability, especially at Houston. Showed a lot of that. I think the ability is there. I think it just will take him a little bit of time. You know, your best outcome is probably like a guy who can step out and make a shot. He finishes primarily around the rim, rebounds well, and can defend multiple positions. That's kind of your hope. But yeah, I think for Bentley, who is a full rebuilding team in this scenario, makes a lot of sense. He's a guy who will sit on a taxi squad probably for a while if he goes into the draft. I think he should go back to school, personally. I think he should do one more year, especially with next year's draft being a little less depth. I think he could easily see himself in the lottery next year, where I don't think he would be a lottery pick this year with the talent that's in it. So I would go back. That's why he's not on my board. But if he stays, he would probably be in this tier, tier 4 that I have just off the top of my head. Not who I thought you were going to go with, but I appreciate it. I think that makes the conversation interesting. I thought I thought you were going to go one of 3 people. I'll say them real quick. They'll end up in the next pod. I thought you were going to take either Jaden Quintance out of Kentucky, who's like definitely a lottery ticket, Koa Pete, or I thought you were going to go kind of unusual, and he's been quite a riser since the beginning of the season with the Ibuka Okori out of Stanford. Those were 3. I was like, okay, maybe he goes like a deep cut, but you went even deeper than I thought you would. So not that necessarily Okori is a better prospect than Sinak, but he's already declared for the draft and seems to not go to the transfer portal or anything, so he's going in. Sam, you got opinions on Chris Sinak, or you love potential? You can fix him. I know how you feel about him.
No, he literally took me. I was like, where's this kid at? I'm like, I didn't see him on this on Ryan Drake things. But I for sure thought Bentley was going with Kobe, and then he didn't say that, and I said, who's this guy? But yeah, no, that just took me completely off guard. But I trust everything Bentley says, so
Yeah, good philosophy.
Koa Pete and Quaintance were, it was all like right in there.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I think he's in that ballpark. Especially if you're trying to take upside guys. Yeah, I think that makes sense. All right, well, that's our top 15. Bentley, you want to scroll back up to the top? I'll just read them off real quick for the audio listeners. We got, in order, Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, Caleb Wilson, Mikael Brown, Keaton Wagler, Kingston Flemings, Yaxel Lindeborg, Darius Acuff Jr., LeBaron Philon Jr., Braden Burries, Nate Ament, Hannes Steinbach, Adai Mara, and Chris Sinak Jr. as our 15. We plan to do a part 2 for everybody out there. Probably try to go through the top 30. We draft 40 players in our league, so 30 is good preparation for that. We'll hopefully do that for our next episode. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There were some interesting picks. We'll keep kind of the same format probably for the next one, where we each kind of play a different role. We'll see if it's the exact same one or not. Thanks everybody for listening. Bentley, you got anything you want to add before we go out?
Shout out Rory McIlroy, back-to-back Masters. Quite the accomplishment. Tough day for the Americans on the golf course. Unless you're a Scotty Scheffler fan, then it worked out pretty well for you. To go from 12 back on Thursday to finish second in the tournament, that's a big deal. Also, Paolo Banchero has a triple-double going in the final game of the season, so anybody that doesn't think he's the best player on the Magic, you're wrong.
Yep, that's correct. Sam, anything you want to add?
Super excited for the WNBA draft tomorrow. Yay!
Yeah.
Other than that, no, I don't have any.
All right, yeah, WNBA Free agency's been pretty wild, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. That's exciting. I'm excited to support the Connecticut Sun, my new hometown team,
Yeah.
who will be moving to my hometown next year. And
Yeah.
they brought my girl Brittany Griner back home, and I'm excited about that. The greatest high school basketball player I've ever seen, Brittany Griner. Yeah, I want to do one shout out. I know we have a lot of big fans out there, a lot of big fans. That number in the tens. But I want to say a special thank you to Sam's family, who I know listen to this podcast, and their unwavering support really brings a tear to my eye. I've heard the things you've said, and it really is beautiful. I'm gonna leave it at that. But it's heartwarming, and I appreciate that. And I hope you listen for many more years to come, and we appreciate it. All right, that's it, guys. It was appreciate everybody listening. We'll be back probably next week with part 2, and have a good one.